Hey, what's up? This is Asbestos here. Cloudburst are a Russian brand creating performance gear, often with unique aesthetics and functionality and different innovative features as well. And the Raway jacket, which they've come out with fairly recently, is no exception to that. With a kind of low-key look, some high-level performance fabric, decent construction, and one or two very interesting features that I personally haven't really seen anywhere else. So with that in mind, let's take a look at this jacket. It's currently available at about $650. Let's take a look not just at the looks of this jacket, but the construction, the material performance, and exactly how well some of those interesting features work as well. This is certainly a very different jacket to the Orion, which was their flagship a couple of seasons ago, and which I have looked at on this channel, so we'll also be making a few comparisons to that. To me, the main downside of the Orion was how weighty and how cumbersome it was. Well, I'm pleased to report that the Raway absolutely solves that issue. Not only have they done away with large quantities of internal pockets and excess detailing like that, and magnets as well, all of which made the jacket pretty heavy. The material that they've used here is inherently lighter than the construction of the Orion. It's something called Torre, which is a 3-layer, 20k millimeters of water resistance material, and it comes up pretty nice. It's something that's breathable as well, so it's going to be a pretty comfortable piece to wear. So yes, it might not be as water resistant as Gore-tex coming in at 28k, but it's not that far off, and the material feel is actually pretty good. It doesn't feel cheap at all. It has that slight bit of rigidity that Gore-tex has, but it's a little bit more pliable and a little bit softer. So therefore it is quite a nice, easy jacket to throw on and take off again. Very, very different to the Orion in that respect. There are a few other elements hinting at good construction quality as well. You'll notice on the inside there are machine sealed seams, which really help with that water resistance because the seams are generally points of failure and where water is going to come in. So it's good that that point has been addressed. And if you look at most of the hardware on this jacket, all the zips are YKK as well, which is very much industry standard for a high quality bit of hardware, particularly the double zip as well that's on the front, which is a really, for me, important feature to have on a jacket. It does increase its versatility, its wearability. In a size medium, which is my true size, there's enough room underneath this to get a mid layer without it looking too oversized, so I think that aspect is pretty good. Sleeve length is also just about okay. This falls just above the knuckle, so you wouldn't really want it any longer because you'll end up looking like wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man, but it does the job. I think it's fine. There's also some cuff detailing here, so there's 3 different settings that you can adjust that to, so you can reduce that sleeve length a little bit if you so desire. I mentioned earlier that this has far fewer pockets than the Orion. That's certainly the case. You've got a left and right pocket, which are pretty much hand height, not super big, but big enough for this kind of use. There's also a chest pocket, which is a little bit different and a bit interesting, so I'll talk about that one specifically a little bit later. And well, that's pretty much it. You've got a big pocket on the back as well, which can be used for storing slightly larger items. There are no internal pockets, unfortunately, so for those of you who like to keep your stuff super safe, then you're going to be missing out on this one, unfortunately. But every other pocket is zipped, so you do have some protection and security there. I often say that good hoods are hard to design, and this is one of the better ones compared to a lot of the other techwear brand jackets that I've looked at. It's fairly close fitting, but doesn't look ridiculous, I don't think, and gives you ample rain protection, no problem. Also, very crucially, in fact, it can move quite easily with the wearer's head. So something that I find with some hooded jackets is you basically have to like turn your entire body once you're fully zipped up to like see what's going around if you're crossing the street or something like that. But this can actually turn quite nicely with the head. So that's very much an advantage for this. To increase that feeling of protection, there's some poppers that you can further do up to bring that neckline even higher up. I would have preferred it if it was just the zip that you could do all the way up to the top, because it just makes things a bit easier, but it does at least give you an extra option for protection or keeping the jacket a bit more open if you so desire. These basic elements are all pretty important in terms of the overall wearability of the jacket, and I think from this perspective, the Raway does quite a lot of things right. However, coming in at $650, there are a lot of jackets around this price point, or slightly lower or slightly higher, that compete directly. So we have to have a little bit more to make us want this jacket specifically. So let's check out some of the unique features, some of the aesthetic touches as well, to see if there's enough here that's unique or different that will make you want this specifically. One of the most obvious aesthetic details of this jacket, which translates directly into an element of functionality, is that chest pocket that I mentioned earlier. This isn't just a contrasting colour, it's a contrasting material as well. This uses Dyneema, which is quite a strong, quite a lightweight material. And this little chest pocket is just about big enough to carry one or two important things, very easily phone-sized, for example, with some nice room to spare. But this isn't just a contrasting chest pocket. There are two poppers at the bottom which you can undo. And I actually had to ask Cloudburst exactly what this is for because it's not explained anywhere on the product page. But what you can do with this is, by using a messenger bag, you can put the strap underneath the chest pocket and then put it back over and attach it. So you get a little bit of a cleaner look, and it also means that you can access that pocket far easier than if you had a messenger bag strap going over the top of it. That's quite an interesting feature. I've not seen that implemented in a jacket before. It's a little bit like Acronym's Interops functionality, which also provides a method for wearing a bag underneath the jacket, but it's a very different implementation of that. And I think despite it being quite simple, to be honest, it's actually effective and it's quite an interesting little thing. There is a potential limitation with this functionality in that it works much better if you're carrying a messenger bag over the right shoulder so that the strap can go in the correct direction. Check your messenger bags, check your left or right preferences before going for this functionality. Another obvious element that you've probably noticed is the multiple transparent sections on this jacket. So the ones that are over the shoulders are purely from an aesthetic perspective. They're kind of interesting and it gives you a number of different ways to alter the look of this jacket effectively. By wearing different colors or different garments underneath this, you can change how those little transparent, translucent areas appear. You can see it looks a little bit weird me wearing it with a t-shirt. That's purely because of the temperature in my room currently. This aesthetic detail is not going to be to everyone's taste, of course. I'm kind of middling about it. I think it's an interesting touch, and jackets like this certainly need to do something to differentiate themselves aesthetically, although I think I would have preferred it had they used Dyneema over the shoulders like on the chest pocket. That would have given a little bit more, I don't know, synergy over the whole jacket. There is another jacket from Cloudburst which uses like shiny Dyneema elements over the shoulders, so that's something you could consider as well. But these translucent sections aren't just over the shoulders, but lower down on the arms as well, and this is where their functionality aspect comes in, because this is not just a transparent material, but it actually allows for touch devices to work through it. So this area that's on the left here, this little octagonal section, that's designed for use of the smartwatch so that you can use your little watch without taking the jacket off or rolling the sleeve up. And on the right hand side, there is an arm mounted pocket that you can slide your smartphone in and then use your phone in exactly the same way, whilst having that protection from the jacket itself so it's not getting wet, but still allowing you to use it. This sounds really cool and I was quite excited to give this a go. However, in practice, it doesn't really seem to be particularly useful to me, and there's a few reasons for that, a few kind of clear issues which to me impede its functionality. Putting your phone in this has a kind of destabilizing effect. I don't really like having a weight on one side of my arm and not the other, because it's kind of, yeah, it just doesn't feel that good to like move around when you've got a phone attached to your arm. And secondly, although the translucent material, to its credit, doesn't really impede the touch functionality of the phone, the problem is with actually being able to see through this thing. It's very difficult to see any kind of detail, so reading text or anything like that is extremely difficult to do, and you're going to find yourself trying to clamp the jacket right next to the surface of the phone trying to see properly what's going on. And if you combine that with the fact that when I had my phone in this, it tends to think that it's in a very dark place, so it automatically lowers the brightness and makes it really hard to see, it just makes it not a particularly pleasant experience to use. I just can't think of a situation where I would be so desperate to use my phone in the rain that I would put up with those shortcomings. So yeah, to me this is kind of gimmicky. It's the thing that you show off to your mates and, you know, it's a bit of a party trick, but then you don't actually use after that. So yeah, unfortunately my experience with this feature was not really particularly good. There are some more useful features on the inside of the jacket though. This does come with a jacket sling, which I always like, and it's way less bulky and cumbersome than the one on the Orion. This one is very, very lightweight, it's quite thin, still strong enough to do the job, and it does have these little elasticated elements towards the bottom to help with wearability. They're not quite as nice as the ones on the Nike Lab ACG jackets, which are fully elasticated and have that cool branding going down, but as I say, they're strong enough and they're good enough to do the job. Something else that's quite interesting that you only see when you open the jacket is that there's an NFC chip in this jacket that's manufactured by a company called Verizium, and this can do a couple of different things. First of all, you can tag this NFC ID using an app, and it will verify that this jacket is legitimate. That NFC ID is apparently impossible to replicate, and I'm always in favor of things that prevent the proliferation of fake goods into the market. While I don't think this authenticity feature is crucial here, in that I don't expect the market to be flooded with fake Cloudburst jackets, because this is a fairly niche and a fairly underground brand, it's very cool to see Cloudburst on board with this kind of tech. And if this filters through to more mainstream brands, then that could represent a pretty interesting change in the industry. So Cloudburst's integration with this is pretty simple at the moment. You just scan it and it will take you to the product page of this, so you can remind yourself or show your friends all the cool features it's got. But there's potential to integrate this with, everyone that's bought a Cloudburst jacket can scan it and then they get to go to a Cloudburst private party. Anything like that. The sky's really the limit, and it depends on the brand there as to the level of integration. But yeah, this Verisium technology is kind of interesting. It's quite cool. And with a physical NFC chip, it certainly does put the tech in techwear. And one final thing to note about this jacket is that it's extremely limited. If you look on the inside of mine that Cloudburst were kind enough to send to me, this is marked as number 4 of 20. And if you go on the website, it says there's only 10 available. So that might carry some weight with you, the idea of not getting an off-the-shelf solution, but a product that is really very rare, and you're not going to see very many, if any, other people wearing this at all. So you have the chance to get something that's quite a unique product that other people are not going to own. So that's everything about the Cloudburst Raway jacket. Now, what's my conclusion? Well, the main feature of it, the phone viewing functionality, is pretty gimmicky. I don't think it works that well. However, there are a lot of other elements of this jacket which I think are done right. From the decent hood design, from that quite simple but effective floating chest pocket idea, there are some things in here that are pretty nice and make this overall a wearable and a useful jacket. In my opinion, scrapping the device viewer tech would be a good thing. Not only would you be removing functionality that I don't really feel works that well, it would lead to an overall cleaner looking jacket, because you wouldn't have these extra translucent panels that are kind of differently sized and don't look as cool as they could, in my opinion. However, even with that functionality aside, in this price range, you do have a lot of different jackets which might warrant your attention as someone that wants a cool piece of outerwear. You've got very high performance, sleek, minimal looking products from brands like Arc'teryx, who use materials like Gore-tex, which do have that tried and tested functionality, even though this Toray stuff is supposed to be pretty good. Or you have brands that have a little more of the dystopian, urban kind of appeal that people often associate with techwear, brands like Antwon and Gorilla Group, that I think aesthetically are pushing things further than Cloudburst are doing here. But if the overall look of this jacket appeals to you, the Dyneema pocket, the translucent elements giving some techwear aesthetics without being super dystopian or tech ninja-y, or if the feature set appeals to you, or you like the idea of owning that really limited 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 product, you could certainly do a lot worse than the Cloudburst Raway jacket. As I say, at a base level, it does a lot of things right, and there's a lot of things that together make this a quite wearable jacket and something that's pretty pleasant to put on and take off day to day. And with all that said, that is the Cloudburst Raway jacket. So let me know what you think of this down there in the comments. Is there a particular feature which you liked, or do the aesthetics of this jacket particularly appeal to you? Let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button, because it is super appreciated. And as always, we will catch you next week with another video. Massive thanks for all the support in the last video. Really glad everyone enjoyed that one. Shout out to Kevin, who mentioned the idea of doing different videos about these different techwear aesthetics, as I did that grey man one quite a while ago. I would very much like to cover all these different, hikercore, lunarcore, things that I talk about quite a lot. So that is definitely something that's on the cards. And shout out to Christoph. Hoka11 have been gaining a lot of traction, no pun intended, in kind of recent months. So they're definitely something worth checking out if you're looking for some winterized sneakers. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider doing so, because there's going to be a little button for that as well. We've got more cool reviews and other stuff. You might have seen on the Instagram story that we've got one of these, the LA6B AD, new little acronym piece. So that's going to be in a video coming up, and there's going to be a load more stuff as well. So keep your eyes peeled.